Good morning, everybody. It's time for your favorite drive time DJs, PLP and the Sizz. We are here covering all the news, traffic, sports, and weather, as well as the most recent episode of Cloak and Dagger, because this, ladies and gentlemen, is Cloak and Jabber. We will not be taking your calls all morning long. Pete, we are here to talk about the most recent episode.
Episode 5.
Episode 5 of Cloak and Dagger.
That is right, JT to the Sizz.
Pete, you're a huge fan of the show.
So what was great was it's like, hey, do you know what I love? Commercials. Oh, wait, I don't. Let's start the show with a commercial. Yay, boo.
I didn't mind this at all. I thought it was cool. But let's
give
it.
You thought it was cool? You think it's cool when they have commercials on the show you want to watch? You think that's cool?
It was clearly a part of the show. It's weird to be offended by that.
It wasn't clear.
The name of the episode is...
I was like, what the fuck is going on? Oh.
The name of the episode is Princeton Offense. So I understand...
Princeton Offense.
Oh, interesting. Which makes sense why you were so offended.
Yep.
Right out of the gate. A little recap for the season so far. Cloak and Dagger. Pete hates I can feel your anger. Recaps are important, so you know what's going on.
Recaps drive me insane. I don't like them in TV shows.
Well, you know everything all the time?
Yeah, I watch the show. I don't get my brain wiped every time in between eps. I can remember what happened in the last episode.
All right.
I don't need you to waste minutes of a TV show on shit that's already happened.
I think I like recaps because they give you a little clue as to what we're going to be dealing with in this episode.
I like recaps in comic books because I can just flip that page.
You can skip it, you mean?
Yeah, I can skip it.
What about recaps in conversation? I'm like, hey, Pete, do you remember when we went to that? You don't like that?
No.
You just want to tear it right out of my mouth and throw it away?
Yep.
Pete, the man with the perfect memory, is fine doing no recaps. A real elephant of a human needs no one to ever repeat any information to him. And let me be honest, I repeat plenty of stuff for you to understand. And I'll do it again by walking us through the story so far. We have Ty and Tandy, two characters who had a tragic moment in their lives when they were children and they first met. Tandy was in a car with her father, who works for the Roxxon Corporation. Something is up with the Roxxon Corporation. Yeah, they seem to be a bad corporation. They go off the bridge into the water. Father dies, while at the same time Ty's brother is shot by a crooked cop, and they both end up in the water, and a blue wave hits them.
Jellyfish.
A jellyfish is not what it is, but that's what Pete thinks. They wash up on the beach. They are intimately connected, and they have powers. Since then, Tandy's life has sort of gone off the rails. Her mom drinks too much and obsesses about her husband's death.
As you do.
Ty is haunted by the death of his brother and trying to build his life out from that moment. Tandy committing crime, always doing drugs, on the run from everything in her life. So they develop these powers where Tandy can manifest light daggers, as well as when she touches someone, see their hopes. Ty, on the other hand, when he touches someone, can see their fears, as well as teleportation through what hasn't been defined yet, but I'm assuming is what is called the Dark Force, which we learn from the comics. Tandy has found some purpose in life. The lawyer that her mother was dating was helping them put together a case against Roxxon. She didn't trust this guy. She read his hopes, and she started to trust him, and then he was killed. Murdered in his office. She used that tragedy to manifest Light Dagger. She's in total control of her powers now. She cut open the safe to get the paperwork. She's trying to build the case to take down the people that killed her. She thinks killed her father. Ty, on the other hand, is now that his powers have manifested, is starting to track down this cop. His obsession is the cop who is crooked, who they've had a couple confrontations.
And also mad racist.
He's also pretty racist. Ty has confronted him a couple times and barely got away with his life. A third sort of main player in this game is another cop, O'Reilly, who is the female detective. She has befriended Tandy and Ty and is interested in what happened to them and figuring out how she can help them and for the greater good of breaking down corruption mansion in New Orleans. We should also mention that
we don't know if that's all true.
We don't know exactly what her motives are, but it seems like that is what it is.
You're making a leap there.
Well, I'm ready to make a leap because I love this show. One other thing we should say, Ty is sort of dating Emoji Girl, who is a girl who loves emojis, as we learned in the first episode.
And may or may not have his best interest in heart.
And we don't know what her deal is, really. She has an aunt that is experienced in voodoo. And
made a voodoo doll.
No, made a 3D printing of Ty.
Which is a voodoo doll.
Back a couple episodes ago. We don't know exactly what's going on there. So let's jump in.
And start with the fucking commercial.
It was a commercial for Roxanne.
Who the fuck rakes a beach? Why are you raking a beach?
Why are you so angry about this?
Because... first off, you're starting a show with a commercial, which I don't appreciate, and then you have somebody doing something that is a ridiculous thing that makes me angrier. That's the point, right?
That was the point. It was
so the point is to say, look at how stupid everybody is who lives near Roxanne. We can just buy them and make them do whatever we want and make them do stupid stuff like rake a beach.
I think it was showing that this is a dumb corporation.
I've seen people who do amazing artwork in sand, and then it kind of the water washes away, and it's kind of beautiful and part of life. And I understand that, but that's not what's happening here. It's some dumbass looking at the camera raking a fucking beach.
GP, let me ask you: do you hate commercials or rakes? It's a little unclear where this anger is,
because this is clearly from column A, a little from column B.
This is clearly parodying dumb commercials, dumb corporate tone-deaf commercials.
Making a dumb commercial parodying dumb commercials.
Yes, it highlights the fact that's what a parody does.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Thanks for explaining that to me.
Great. It seems like Pete is primed to have a fun discussion about this episode.
So then we get Blondie.
Tandy. It's pronounced Tandy.
Thank you. I'm not saying that name. It's ridiculous.
Tandy?
Yeah, Tandy.
Why?
You don't think Tandy's a ridiculous name?
I mean, it's a name.
Okay, great.
Okay, Pete.
Oh, you watch your mouth.
What? Is that a better name?
Okay. All right. Touche. A little too judgmental. Blonde lady who's a ballerina named Tandy. I was like, oh, man. Okay, anyways. So
angry.
We have her going through paperwork like she's a lawyer, like she knows what the fuck she's going to do once she gets all this paperwork.
She's doing research. She's trying to figure it out. Wouldn't you do that?
Would I organize it in some kind of psycho way on the floor that forms a tree later? I don't know what the fuck is going on. It's not a timeline. It's some kind of weird branch tree
you don't
system.
Really know what it is.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know exactly
why.
She's
feverishly going through it, and I'm just like, do you think you're a lawyer now? What do you
Why
think?
are you so down on her? She's trying her best.
I don't know, because maybe the only friend who's ever looked out for her, she fucking ditched. I'm worried about if she gets in a relationship with our boy Cloak, what she's going to do to him.
Yes, she can behave selfishly, that's for sure.
Thank you.
But I do think that she has lately been on this has given her a purpose, and she's trying to do good. And I think her focusing on this case is great.
Oh, okay, so fine. Let her organize papers on the floor. Great.
Yeah, let her organize papers how she wants.
Yeah.
What, you have a filing system?
No, but it just really pissed me off when she was like, hey, did you get a hold of your powers yet? And he's like, no. And she's like, why don't you just fucking kill yourself? It really helped me out. It's like, what kind of advice are you giving?
Well, I mean, this is a little bit jumping ahead, but that is what triggered her control of her powers was when she tried to kill herself.
Yeah.
And I don't think she's saying, hey, go kill yourself.
Oh,
I
really?
think
Because I could have sworn she pushed him into fucking traffic.
Yes, but she, for whatever reason, good or ill, she believed it would work, and then it did.
Oh, okay, cool. If you ever did that to me and I died, I would haunt you forever.
I would love to be haunted by you.
Oh,
I
man.
would taunt your haunting.
Oh,
you wouldn't haunt me. I'd be taunting you.
Dude,
I would get I would get you ghostbusted so fast. I would get you ghostbusted so fast.
I would have nothing but time. You would be living your life, and I would just be fucking with it the whole time.
I would spend my life fucking with you.
You could. Everybody would leave you.
You would try to scare me, and I would scare you.
No.
I scare the ghost.
That's not possible.
Yeah, 100%.
You can't scare a ghost. You can't.
Just haunt someone who isn't out to get you like I am.
Okay.
Because you would be in a Ghostbuster trap faster than you can say boo. Faster than you can say boo. Next up, we get a surprising scene with the cop O'Reilly. She's having sex in a car with another cop.
Yeah, I don't think this Lady Detective is as good of a detective as I think she was originally portrayed as.
Well,
this episode, it's like, hey, I suck at my job.
I don't think she sucks. I think she's...
Really? I could have sworn she was doing coke in a police precinct.
Again, that's a little bit later. So her storyline this episode, she hears from Ty that this other cop, the crooked cop, Connors, is into drugs, has been running the drug trade. Right. And so what she does is creates a situation where he sees her doing drugs, starts to do drugs with her, and starts to trust her. And I think that's her goal. She's not just in there doing coke.
That seems like she was just in there doing coke.
She's not just having sex with this cop because she doesn't give a fuck about her job. I think she's trying to figure out how this precinct works. She's new. She learns about how the vice is totally off the books.
How do you know she's new to the precinct?
They said it in the episode. She was out in San Francisco, I think she said. She's new there. She's trying to figure it out. She knows that
she's
something's
doing coke
no good.
And fucking her way through the precinct. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I don't know if that's exactly what she's doing, but I think she is. And I'm sure maybe she has her own reasons for having sex with that cop. Maybe she likes him. You don't really know in the episode.
That's true.
But it does seem like she is very interested in the corruption going on in the New Orleans PD. And I think she's like, oh, it's so weird. All the drug arrests went way down when this Connors dude started doing it. He started. The drugs are still flowing, but rival dealers are getting eliminated. I thought that was a cool way of showing the corruption in a way that isn't just like, this guy's bad.
Huh?
No.
I mean, it's a point.
I love this moment where Ty sees that his locker's decorated, and he's like, ooh, thanks for doing that. Turns around, Tandy.
Yeah. And they met by his locker. Aw.
It's cute. It's a classic high school romance between
romance meet by the locker
between superpowered teenagers who have no other options.
It wasn't her. We find out later Emoji Girl did it.
Emoji Girl, because she likes Ty, and they're getting pretty close. Tandy manifests a dagger. Is this whole episode in school?
Which she just pops the dagger.
You don't be popping daggers in school.
You don't pop daggers in school.
You pop your daggers on your own time.
Yeah, you don't pop daggers in school, especially in front of everybody in the fucking house. She drives me insane.
She's cocky. She's feeling it. That's why
Blondie drives me insane. She's
Tandy,
so reckless.
She is. I mean, it's not that reckless. I think.
Oh, you don't think it's reckless to pop daggers in school?
Did anyone see her?
Oh, nobody saw a glowing dagger? That's ridiculous.
To your point, I feel like she is rubbing it in to Ty that she understands her powers and he does not, and she's like, catch up, dude. Yeah, we're in this together.
That's bullshit. You don't tell somebody to kill themselves so they can get control of their powers.
We'll get to that in a little bit. Ty's very forgiving of his basketball teammates, even though they were like super dicks to him.
Yeah, that made me mad. Why are you playing in that basketball game after you got beat the fuck up?
Well, he's a basketball player. He wants to play. Like, basketball is tied up with the relationship with his brother who died. Like,
you walk away after your team beats the shit out of you.
Well, I mean, I agree with you, but he didn't, and this episode is building toward the big state semifinals, and I think he has a big interest in winning this game, and he's also good.
I think it was pretty clear that he doesn't.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute, but he's also good at basketball. Like, he's got a killer shot.
You watch your mouth. That was horrible. The way
just wait, we'll get to that.
Was garbage. They had to keep cutting away. He looked like he'd never held the basketball in his life.
Well, that's because some other stuff was happening. We'll get there in a little bit.
It's ridiculous.
Ty and Emoji Girl, it seems like they're sort of like trying to figure each other out a little bit. She seems to sort of want to wear his varsity jacket, which I get that. How many varsity jackets did you give away in your time, Pete?
None. Thanks for bringing that up. That's really cool.
Is that an open wound? What sports did you play?
Dude, we've gone through this. I don't want to do this.
No, you don't want to talk about it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I was on the golf team, and they did not give us jackets.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have girlfriends to give them to. Tandy spies, and then she steals some clothes from a locker, which comes in handy later on.
Yeah, good thing she stole that little schoolgirl outfit. It just fits her perfectly.
Yeah, well. You know, you got to shop appropriately. That's why she opened 3 lockers.
Yeah, I like how we had the talk with Mom, and Mom was like, your jump shot is money in the bank.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot me with this dialogue.
Supportive. Oh, it's not. I mean, yeah, it's a little hokey, but the show, I think, is, on the whole, written very well. We learned that Ty's mom reps Roxxon.
Yeah.
So that's going to be fucked up later on. Mm-hmm. Am I right?
The only line that I thought was real was he's like, "Mom, don't hug me. This is embarrassing." I was like, all right, cool.
So then we have this moment where Ty is holding a picture of his brother, a family picture, and he cloaks himself to that friend.
Yeah, I thought he needed a cloak or some kind of wrapping or a bed sheet. Turns out, no.
No, I don't think he needs
hold
that.
Pictures and travel.
Yeah. Well, I think his
Small
powers
motion?
just teleport him. It seems like the way we've seen it so far is it sort of leaks out of his sleeve, and then he all of a sudden goes to where. Is his power driven by his fear, or like he sees that picture of his brother and that draws him to the friend?
Right.
So, like, what is that about?
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like his mind, if he's thinking about something, he goes there.
Yeah, it's like it's very emotionally based. While Tandy's power seems to be working a little bit more logically. She's not quite so emotionally, which I think is sort of a little bit easier. While Ty is getting ready for his game, Tandy gets herself to this Roxxon event.
Yeah. Now
she joins a sort of an escort service.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, I'd like to sign up to be a prostitute.
I'm impressed that you can walk in. I mean, it's not a prostitute really. It's sort of like I guess arm candy might be the term to use.
How the hell did she get that many followers?
I would think she faked that.
How do you fake?
I don't know, but they didn't dwell on it.
She doesn't, at any time during the show, she doesn't talk about how she's technically savvy where she can fake having followers.
Yeah.
And like pose for any of these pictures.
Yeah, we don't really learn about that. It didn't bother me too much. It looked like maybe she faked that.
It bothered me because I was like, this is a...
Clearly. Well, you, for some reason, don't like Tandy, and so you are looking for any reason to dislike her. Faking an Instagram page,
what
not
do you
the
mean
worst
for
thing.
some reason? I've been pretty clear on why I don't like her.
Yeah, because you don't like her name.
No, because I don't think that she's a good person.
Right. I mean, I agree with you, but I think she is getting to be a better person. She realized that she needed to change. We get to see Tandy's boyfriend in lockup. He's ready to talk to O'Reilly.
Don't call him that. She left him there to die.
Not to die, but it will be interesting.
Might as well. She doesn't give a fuck.
Wow. This is like, are you talking about an ex of yours?
No.
It feels like that you've been wronged by this specific person. So then we move into sort of the main crux of the episode where the stakes are high for both Ty and Tandy in very different ways. Ty's playing in this semifinal.
Can we talk about the basketball game,
We'll get there in 1 second. Semifinal basketball game, while Tandy is at this Roxxon event, feeling her way through, trying to find out using the information she learned from all the paperwork she got from the lawyer's office to try to figure out who the big boss is. And it's going well for her. Let's talk Tandy first. She uses her powers and gets her way to find out who the boss is. We see him, and then we see like a vision of what he's doing, and she's
just going around the party touching dudes.
Yeah, and she finds that he has his hopes are pulling money out of dead bodies and putting that in this floating cooler, and she sees this helmet.
What kind of fucking hope is that?
She sees this helmet with the name Ivan Hess written on it.
Right.
Yeah, it's a weird hope. I think he's definitely a villain.
Which is weird because it's like that's specifically to her storyline, but we're supposed to see this guy's hopes. And for some reason, his hope is that there's a floating helmet that is a key part of her storyline. I didn't think that made sense.
No.
Also, do you think he hopes that all those people die and then float to the top, and when they die, they have just wads of money on them?
No, it's not a literal. It's meant to express
it's a metaphor?
thematic. Yes, and he's hoping to make money off
all these
deaths, off what happened that I think gave Ty and Tandy their powers. That's what I think was the implication there. Another thing we learn is that their powers are in balance in an interesting way.
Yep.
Tandy's using her powers too much, and that draws him there.
Right. He's kind of in the middle of a big game
because she's using her power so much. His powers are acting out of control.
Yeah, like he goes for a pass and it
phases through him. The basketball cloaks to...
Can we talk about the basketball game?
Yes.
Please?
Okay, that's what we're talking about. The basketball cloaks to the party where Tandy is at.
Basketball game.
Yeah.
They show the scoreboard which in basketball it's quarters. They have a thing over that says periods. Fine. Okay, fine. High school gym, it's a cheap scoreboard. Fine.
That's not
a big
abnormal.
issue. Not a big issue. Still kind of wrong, but okay, fine. For the second quarter, it says the score is 16-17. In the second quarter, that doesn't make any sense. That's the first quarter. It's that low of a game.
Maybe the second quarter.
Then it goes to the fourth quarter, and it's 60-66. That makes more sense. You can't. Like, is anybody watching this footage and seeing how ridiculous this is?
Pete, I think you're missing some larger points and maybe focusing on some small...
It just takes one person to be like, hey, basketball doesn't work like that, guys. You look like assholes out there.
If it was the beginning if it was the beginning of the second quarter, that's not a ridiculous score. If the final score is 65, top of the second quarter, it makes sense, 16-17.
No, that does not make sense. Your math is not correct.
No, yeah, if it's the beginning of the second quarter, that means
it was the end of the second quarter.
Well, I don't know if it was halftime if it was 16-17.
That's what they were saying.
Well, I don't know.
And then all of a sudden it's 66, 67. But my point is, then you're going to have a guy play basketball. Cool. Hey, this is a big part of his backstory. Have somebody who's played basketball before, or at least have him practice, because he was shooting shots that looked ridiculous.
So you're being hypercritical of his basketball acting and the scoreboard work.
Right. Because it pulls you out of the story. It's like, hey, what's your dream? Oh, my dream is to play basketball. And then they cut to somebody who looks like they've played kickball their whole life. Like, you don't... It was just so... As soon as he put the ball up, they had to cut away because there's nowhere that ball went anywhere near where the basket was. So I'm just saying, like... If you're going to have these things, you got to at least make it look like an actual basketball game.
Well, for a lot of the game, he was being affected by the Tandy using her powers, and he was off. So she's like, you need to... he cloaks to Tandy at the Roxanne Pond during halftime.
And then during halftime, she's monologuing about all the stuff that she's doing. There is no time for this. It's halftime.
Yeah, but he can't use his powers to get back until she pushes him over the balcony. He falls in the fountain.
Yeah, but it's like, hey, listen, lady. I know that you're in the middle of something, but I have a huge game going on.
He says that to her.
No, she goes off, and he lets her go off for this long fucking monologue, and then he's finally like, hey, I'm in the middle of a basketball game. Oh, you think? No, I'm just wearing this jersey and shit. And then she murders him so that he can go back to the basketball game.
He falls in the fountain.
She pushes him off the ledge of a balcony. And he could fall to his death.
But I mean,
because that's very shallow water.
That's very frustrating to you. I see that, but I think the idea here is that
she's hoping that the powers that she used up, there's enough to get him back to the game.
Well, we don't know that's how their powers work, and I think she trusted that he needed to be put into danger for his powers to manifest. And I know you're frustrated, but she was right. It did work. He goes back to the gym, which is where he wants to be.
Right.
He's all wet. He goes out for the second half, and he starts to gain control of his powers. He's dribbling down the field or down the court, and he's touching all the ref, all the players. He's seeing their fears and all of the horrible thoughts they have in their head. And I think that started to weigh on him. He shoots the ball and misses. And I think he lets them win because he sort of almost absorbed their fears.
No, he did not. That shot was so ugly looking. There was no way that was going in.
I think
I would have lost my mind if that went in.
Yeah, but I don't think the idea was that, like, he missed because he's bad at basketball. The idea was that he was missed because he was affected by absorbing all of their fears.
Right.
And I think that's interesting. That means he is, like...
choosing to let them win.
Yes, and he's vulnerable to their fears, and maybe it affects his actions.
Also, I want to go back to the party for a little bit. Did you see the thing where she was walking around touching dudes? And then she just grabbed some dude's ear?
Yeah, she was getting a little
ridiculous.
cocky.
Make it at least look like it's an accident that you're brushing into somebody. Don't grab some dude's ear.
Yes. So she gathers all the information and goes to the big boss's house where she gets him in her high school outfit from Ty's school. So the guy wants to help her because he thinks she's a prep school girl. Mm-hmm. He comes out to change her tire, and we get that vision of him stealing money from the dead bodies. Interesting. Definitely this guy's our big bad, and we learned this name Ivan Hess seems important. we see O'Reilly doing drugs, connecting with Connor, and we're going to see that. Connor's the crooked cop. We're going to see that play out, I think, over the next couple episodes. Emoji Girl shows up, and she and Ty get it on. They are like, the emojis are just, I know what we're seeing. It's just a lot of big hearts. A lot of just
scrambling to find an emoji.
Double dancing girls.
Why don't you say eggplant? You know what I mean? Like,
Pete's all about the eggplant. And then the next morning, she's leaving, and she says this thing that I thought was interesting. She says she knows about him. She knows about.
Because knows. Her mom told her who he is, and that's why she's interested in him. She's playing him the whole time, dude.
Well, I got to say, Pete, I have not believed that theory, and then I saw that, I heard her say that, and I was like, ooh, that's suspect. Not to say that it's definitely, she's a bad guy, but I did find it weird that she is claiming to know about his powers.
Yep.
I hate to think that Pete may be right, but Pete may be right. Just a couple last moments here. Ty cloaks to see his friend, his brother's friend, and the business that he owns, and he sees Connors talking to him. That kid is involved in the drug trade, and he knows that he is working with a dude that shot Ty's brother.
And that explains why he has that really nice watch.
Yes, and we saw that shot when Ty first met with him. It was like, oh, business is going well. And he's like, yeah. Turns out it's going well because he is somehow involved in the drug trade there. I think Ty's super betrayed by that.
And then you had to be super happy because then, Ty is very super betrayed by that because he thought his friend was a good person. Turns out not so much. And then you got to be so happy because then we get another commercial at the end. Another fucking commercial.
I mean, it's less of a commercial, more of a corporate video, I guess, where we meet this person who is working for Roxxon, who goes by the name Mina Hess, assuming it's the daughter of Ivan Hess, and she is going to become a major player in Cloak and Dagger going forward.
I just hope we get more commercials because, man, they're doing such a great job with them.
Pete, clearly a cord cutter, just can't handle a commercial in this day and age.
Yeah.
It was a device to tell a story, and I think they did a good job.
Well, I'm glad that you thought that.
Pete, did you like this episode better than previous episodes?
That's a big no there, buddy. It's a big 10-4. I sometimes go back on the show where I'm like, oh, man, I think the show's growing on me. But then you have an episode like this that just makes me want to throw my computer out a window.
Great to hear.
It's just a lot of shitty choices in one episode, man.
I think you focus on the details to the detriment of your enjoyment of the show, and I don't understand it. I will say, for me, I like the show a lot. I think it's really smart. I think the characters are really unique.
Don't say it's really smart.
I do think it's really smart.
Not,
characters are really
smart
unique.
About it?
A lot of the choices the characters make are really interesting.
They're making dumb choices right now. They're stumbling through life.
Yeah, that's the interesting part. They don't have their lives figured out. I don't need to see people be amazing all the time.
I don't need that either, but all right, whatever. You have your opinions. I'm sorry, sir.
Oh, wow. The most mature thing you've said in your entire life. Let's end the podcast as we always do. Pete, Cloak or Dagger? Whose episode what? Why do you say that?
Because Cloak is a better person.
Wow. I'm going to pick Dagger. This is definitely a Dagger episode. She seems in control of her powers. She is moving forward. Ty is getting there, but he is still struggling. But I really love the way they just...
You like the way she's just like lying to everybody and you can't trust her. And then she's like, hey, I'm going to be a prostitute for a little while.
None of that has happened in this episode.
Oh, I'm pretty sure it happened.
The way that they keep these two characters in balance and emotionally pushing each other and sort of moving in different directions, I think, is really well done.
Cool.
That's the episode of Cloak and Jabber. Please, you can check us out on this podcast, obviously, on our Preacher podcast, Preacher Men, our main podcast, Comic Book Club, which is a recording of our live show, which we tape every Tuesday at 8 p.m. at the People's Improv Theater Loft in New York City. If you like this show, please support us on Patreon at patreon.com/comicbookclub. We have a ton of Patreon exclusives that we're getting ready to roll out, so please check that out as soon as you can. Pete, tell the people what they want to hear.
Friend us on Facebook so you get to know about the amazing guests we have on our live show.
Follow us on Twitter at Comic Book Live, and in the meantime, I'm going to buy Pete a stiff drink because he needs to chill.
Thanks for listening, guys.